Good afternoon. Today I am working on a relocation bracket for the front cruise control sensor, collision sensor on the Nissan Frontier. So stay tuned and check it out. All right, so I have this collision sensor located exactly where CBI told me to put it, and it wasn't working, and so I took it to the dealer and they said they could not calibrate it because it's too far off of center. So they said if I can get it more towards center, that they can calibrate it to make it work. They said this was 13 degrees off here, and on the vertical it's 7 degrees off. So it says it needs to tilt forward 7 degrees and it needs to go way back over here towards center. There is a slight possibility when I move this back that it will work without me having to recalibrate it. So that's what we're going to try out today. Now what I've done is I went to Home Depot and I got this piece of steel, and I'm going to cut it to fit across here, and then I'm going to move this bracket so that it mounts in the center of the vehicle like this. And then I'm going to devise some method to where I can tilt it just a hair so that it faces a little bit more downward. Haven't quite figured out how I'm going to do that yet, but that'll get it back towards center. And then I don't know, I might just put a couple washers behind this just to make it face more forwards downwards. So we'll see how it works. All right, so the first thing I did is I've added 3 little baby washers behind the top bolt on this sensor. So now, as you can see, it's pitching forwards just a little bit. And the adjustable portion is I could take one of the washers off, or I can add more washers to get it to pitch down. Some of the consensus online is that the sensor, because it's elevated, it's not sensing the road anymore, so it thinks it's blocked. So that should help with that. And then moving it back to center should help with the lateral error that I'm getting. So we'll go from there. So next I'm going to measure this piece of steel and get it cut to fit between all 3 braces, and then I'll go ahead and bolt it. I'll drill new holes so that it can be bolted down, and then put it back together. All right, so here's the finished product. So what I did is I ended up putting a bar underneath because I didn't want this elevated any more than it needed to be, which actually threw the height off. So I ended up, I don't know if you can see it, I ended up just throwing some washers under there just to level it, and I put a level on there to make sure it was level. And then I still have a little bit of room to go left or right. I'm probably gonna have to go a little bit more to the left. And then if you look at it from the side, you can see where the washers I added just give it a little bit of forward pitch. But the problem I have now, since I brought it home from the dealer, as soon as you start it and start moving, I get a big old error. So watch. There it goes. You can see it now. So it has that information error warning up there. And then if I clear it, it goes away. But if I go over, you know, it shows the forward driving aid has a light on it, and then system fault. Alright, so I'm driving around the neighborhood now, and on the 3rd, 4th time that I've driven it around, it actually stopped, that code stopped popping up. So now there's no code. I'm driving around, and no, that's not my normal gas mileage, don't worry about that. But I think maybe I've solved it. So I'm going to drive it for a couple days. I'll put the grill back on because the grill's not on right now, but I'm going to drive it for a couple days and see if this corrected it. My thought is that because it was elevated with the lift kit, that the sensor is no longer as close to the ground as what it was, and so they said I was 7 degrees off from that. So me forwarding the camera you know, by tilting it just a little bit forward, it makes it see the ground a little bit more. Whether I need to, I put 3 little washers in there. If I need to remove one, I can do that pretty easily. The other thing was centering it to the car, because it was 13 degrees off of center, and bringing it back to center. The dealer said that it'll actually compensate for a lot of it, but if it's too far off, it won't. And I think that's what had happened in this case, is just too far off center. So we'll go back and look at, here's my dog, here's my dog. Yeah, so here, you know, I got the metal bar that I put in. It's bolted on 3 different places here, so it's solid. And I got like it's at least like an 1/8 inch steel, maybe a 1/4. I wanted something that wouldn't move, you know, so you don't want this jiggling around. So it's solid in here. And then I just drilled the holes. I had to drill new holes to get it in. This right here, this hole right here, the camera, the sensor actually stuck out past where the grill is going to insert. So right here, it's actually, I think it's perfect. The grill should snap right in there, and it should be just right where it needs to be. And then you can see the washers that I added right there. It might be pitched just a little bit too far forward, but it's real easily just to take that one washer out. I'm going to let it stay there for right now and see what it does. But hopefully, because that error code was popping on every time I drove it after I left the dealer, now it's not. So hopefully it's recalibrated itself and it'll actually work. So I'm going to put the grill back on and then drive this around for a couple days, and then we'll go from there. Alright, so I've driven it around all afternoon. I tested the cruise control with the adaptive cruise control, and that works. It when I got too close to a car, the sensor went off, and I haven't had any errors all afternoon. So I think this is a legitimate fix, and it should work for you. And it was real easy. I think the piece of steel cost me maybe $18, and I had the bolts in my garage, and it worked just fine. So all right, thanks for watching.